of course, everything is coming from Cuba in one point of the history. But before Cuba, before all this situation between Europe bringing the slave from Africa to Cuba, is coming from Europe too. So there's many people saying like salsa is coming from the streets in one point of the history, yeah. But if we go like very, very deep, if we do zoom, it's coming from the ballroom dances, mix it with the farm dances, and mix it with the African dances from different tribes. So when we talk about this postron, this frame, it's coming from ballroom dances and farm dances. That's why they call it country dance, but in Cuba they call it contra danza. But it's country dance, you know, the way that farmers in many movies they do yeah, but they have already this pattern. And then the way to make it looks with the lines and everything is coming from royalty families. So when I was seeing those dances per separate, and then I was seeing danzón and son cubano from Cuba, I was like, oh, of course, it makes sense. I remember that I was taking a class with one of my friends, Armando Cervantes. He was teaching me history of danzón, and I was like, wow. And then 2 weeks later, I went to the festival in Malaga, and I saw Sevillanas, and I was like, danzón, Sevillanas, danzón, Sevillanas. What the hell? So I was connecting and connecting and connecting. So yeah, it's a lot of Europe. It's a lot of Africa together, but the point, it was Cuba at that time. So then in Cuba, we have son and danzón. And then they were trying to present these dances in movies and theaters. So that's why they were making it looks more elegant with lines, with ballet. Yeah. So then we have ballroom dances. For those salseros that say like, no, ballroom dances is not salsa. Well, it was before calling it salsa. And then for those people like, no, this is not ballet, this is salsa. Well, to make it look good, they use salsa technique, yeah, to organize the body, right? So then you can see dancers in the movies, for example, René and Estela from the year 1939 or 38. They're dancing son cubano de fantasía, but they have already this posture. They are doing rotations. They are doing more like circle, but it looks like mambo classic from the 40s and from the 50s in New York, because they were taking just inspiration, okay? I'm talking about all the videos that I've been seeing. And then if you see videos from the 50s, you see Tito Rodriguez dancing with Melly Donay. Melly Donay was the dance partner of Cuban Pete. Cuban Pete was like how Franklin Diaz it is nowadays. Some guy that he was doing unnatural things for people from that generation, from that time. And it was really good to see, but it was unnatural for those people because they were not able to do it. So Cuban Pete was like a elegant but crazy at the same time, doing many, many crazy things. It was like the highest inspiration of mambo, exactly like for many dancers now, Franklin Diaz, it is totally unnatural and highest inspiration of mambo and salsa together. Like some person that we can see that everything could be possible, right? So that was Cuban Pete, and his dance partner was Melly Donay. So in YouTube, you can see Tito Rodriguez, the singer, dancing with Melly Donay. Oh my God, the musicians at that time used to dance amazing. Amazing, 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 amazing. So then you can see that they have the same pattern because they didn't create a way to dance mambo or invent a way to dance mambo. They were using the same tools that people were having to dance son and danzón, because mambo is a rhythm coming from danzón, right? And they were using the same tools, but also at that time in the 50s, there was tap. There was musicals or movies from Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, O'Connor, Sammy Davis Jr., Nicholas Brothers, Barry Brothers. So they were having postures and body language that salseros were seeing. And also these dancers were going to the Palladium. They were the people used to dance mambo at the Palladium every Sunday in New York. So they were seeing that and they were like, oh, what if? So every time I talk about history and about musicality, I always say, like, imagine there's a little elf always saying like, what if what if we do this? What if we do this? And what if we change this and this and this? That little elf, like, what if we do this? So there was always one elf doing that and saying that. What if, what if, what if? So mamberos at that time, at the 50s, they were, what if we do a little bit of tap? What if we do a little bit of swing? What if we do a little bit of Lindy Hop? A little bit of Gene Kelly movements? Oh, Fred Astaire, oh, do you see that movement from Nicholas Brothers, from Barry Brothers? Do you see that split? Oh, do you see that and that and that and that? Let's put it together. Yeah. They didn't have roots at that time. But of course, at the same time that something was evolving, there was traditionalist people that they want everything in the same place that it was here, not here. So they were like, no, because then that's not mambo. Oh, then it's gonna be mambo for this time. And 10 years later, no, because that's not gonna be mambo from these 10 years. No, it's gonna be mambo from the next 5 years. So those little elves, I love them. So that's the time of the mambo. But if we talk about the mambo coming from Cuba, the way that they were dancing mambo in Cuba, it was different. The way that they were dancing mambo in Mexico was different. And then in United States was different. Yeah, but it was the same, kind of the same decade, right? So also remember that the posture of that people from the 50s was like this, hey, hello, hey, hello. And then we have this new generation, the sons of the musicians and dancers that used to go to the Palladium, and they are living the 60s and the 70s. So plus the giant migration from Puerto Rico, and based in the Bronx, also people from Harlem, the Afro-American people. And then we have this new generation of people listening soul, listening blues, listening R&B, listening from the other side, cha-cha-cha, guajira, mambo. So those generations start mixing together. There's an amazing documentary that explains everything called We Like It Like That. Then we can hear the testimony of Johnny Colon speaking how he created his Bugaloo that called Bugaloo Blues. So in one side of his brain, he was in one church in front of an organ. So in one side of his brain, he was thinking of the Guajira melody. And the other side, he was thinking about blues, that it was more like a tran tran ti ting ti tan ti tan ta tan ta ting ting. Pram pra pram pra prim prim. He put them together and he created prim pram pram tin tan tin trum. Then you can hear this song called Bugaloo Blues, and it's a perfect example of the mix between some Bugaloo cha-cha-cha with soul, blues, R&B in general together. I love that documentary. Yeah. And then we have that time, and it's mixed between all these rhythms, the way that people used to dance, those rhythms, and rock and roll, agogo, blah, 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 blah. So a new generation, we're having a new mix, right? And the big bands were going down, and the small bands were going up, and then we have the sextet because people were not paying for the big bands because there was a crisis, economic crisis in the United States at that time. So it was hard to pay for the big bands. And people were playing on the streets. The new generations were playing on the streets. And at the beginning of Fania All Star, that's when they decided to call it salsa. There's another really good documentary in YouTube that I don't remember the name, but it's about salsa, Fania All Star, where the name is coming from, where the salsa word is coming from, why they were using it. And then you see videos of people playing on the street. You can see Rubén Blades, Hector Lavoe, all of them singing on the street when they were not Rubén Blades, when they were not Hector Lavoe. They were just, Rubén. That guy, Hector, right? Right? But you see them playing on the street and you see people dancing on the street. That's when people start saying, like, salsa is from the streets, but they forgot that they were from the Palladium, that they were from the ballroom dances, that they were from the movies, that they were from the theaters, that they were from the royalty. Right? So then we have this movement of salsa. And this is the crazy thing about mambo and salsa. No, that's not salsa, that's mambo. No, I don't dance salsa, I dance mambo. I dance mambo on two. I dance salsa on two. I'm confused. What am I supposed to do? Yeah, the thing is, like, when people were dancing mambo, the body language, it was mambo, right? So whatever it was, cross body, open break, the way that they were doing it at that time, footwork that it was coming from tap most of the time, the people were calling it mambo. Oh, mambo music, let's dance mambo. Cross body, open break, footwork, right? So when people were calling it salsa, because it was already a mix of many rhythms, they were dancing mambo with the new name and the new music from that time. But it was just not mambo. It was just not son cubano. It was all those rhythms together in one single song, right? So that's why it was impossible to keep calling it mambo. It was a new rhythm. I mean, a new tendency with many rhythms together. So people were dancing mambo body structure in salsa community. Traditionalist people wanted to keep calling it mambo, 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 mambo. But then by the time and by the evolution, people were calling it more salsa, more salsa, more salsa. What are you dancing? Salsa. Oh, you know how to dance salsa? Yeah. Crossword lead, open break, blah, 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 blah. In some communities, in some scenes, because the salsa scene, it's huge and there's many salsa scenes. There's not just one salsa scene. Yeah, because in many different salsa scenes, they still don't do it crossbody lead. They still doing kind of cumbia or kind of rock and roll or kind of casino or circular. So yeah, it's very relative. Yeah, but in the community of the congresses on one, blah blah blah, then it's crossbody lead, open break, and that's what people know nowadays as salsa.